The gavel slammed down like a gunshot in the crowded courtroom, and every eye turned to me. Ethan Harper, the golden boy of Manhattan politics, suddenly the villain in their eyes. Nepotism! The lead counsel snarled, his voice slicing through the murmurs like a knife through silk, pointing a trembling finger at the faded photo of my late mentor pinned to the evidence board. I could feel the heat of 100 stares burning into my skin, but it was Alex's gaze from the back row that hit hardest, betrayed, furious. The man I'd loved for 2 years now looking at me like I was a stranger who'd stolen his trust. I froze in that witness box, the wooden railing digging into my palms as if it could anchor me against the storm. The air in the federal courthouse smelled of polished oak and stale coffee, the kind that had been brewing since dawn in some forgotten break room. Outside, the December chill clawed at the tall windows, frosting the glass with New York's relentless gray. But inside, it was a furnace of accusation. Senator Elias Grant, my mentor, my North Star, gone 6 months now from the pancreatic cancer that had eaten him alive, stared back at me from that photo, his salt and pepper beard framing a smile that said, "Kid, you've got this." But did I? The counsel's words echoed. Mr. Harper used undue influence from the late Senator Grant to secure his nomination for district attorney. Emails, calls, backroom deals. It's all here. My heart hammered, not from fear of the charges. They were flimsy, pieced together from half-truths and envy, but from the fracture I saw in Alex's eyes. He sat there in his rumpled trench coat, arms crossed, the fluorescent lights casting shadows that aged him beyond his 32 years. We'd met 2 years ago at a fundraiser in the village. Him a rising investigative journalist with that boyish grin and a notebook that never left his side. "Ethan," he'd whispered that night, our fingers brushing over a shared glass of bourbon, "you're either the real deal or the slickest con I've ever chased." I'd kissed him under the string lights, tasting whiskey and possibility, and for the first time since Elias's diagnosis, I believed in second chances. But now, the courtroom buzzed like a hive kicked over. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashing from the press gallery despite the rules. My lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Rita with silver streaks in her bob, leaned in and murmured, "Stick to the script, Ethan. Deny the favoritism. Pivot to your record." Easy for her to say. My record, the pro bono cases for LGBTQ+ youth, the reforms I'd pushed through city council on housing discrimination, was buried under this avalanche of suspicion. And Elias? He'd pulled strings, sure, but not for me to cheat the system. For me to fight it. "Mr. Harper," the counsel pressed, a weasel-faced man named Hargrove with a tie too tight for his neck. "Did Senator Grant not personally lobby the party chair on your behalf? We have transcripts." He waved a folder like a flag of surrender, but it was mine he wanted. I swallowed, tasting bile, and glanced at the jury. 12 strangers, a mix of blue-collar types from Queens and Wall Street suits, their faces a mosaic of skepticism. One woman, mid-40s with kind eyes, nodded almost imperceptibly. "Hope? Or pity?" "He believed in me," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, carrying across the room like a confession. Elias saw potential where others saw privilege. My family's money from Dad's real estate empire opened doors. Yes, but he taught me to walk through them with purpose. Murmurs rippled. Hargrove smirked, sliding forward another exhibit. A chain of emails between Elias and me, late-night missives from his hospital bed. "Ethan, fight dirty if you must, but never lose your soul," one read. The room tittered. Soul? In politics? I wanted to scream that Elias had been more than a mentor. He was the father I never had, the one who'd caught me crying in his Senate office at 19, fresh out of Yale, terrified after my first boyfriend dumped me for being too ambitious. "Love isn't a zero-sum game, kid," he'd said, clapping my shoulder with that bare paw hand. "It's the fuel." Straight as an arrow himself, married to his high school sweetheart for 40 years. But he'd championed the Marriage Equality Act like it was personal. He'd seen me, truly seen me, when my own father dismissed my coming out as a phase over Thanksgiving turkey. The judge, a stern black woman named Rivera with a gavel that could crack walnuts, rapped for order. "Counsel, relevance?" Hargrove puffed up. "It shows manipulation, Your Honor." Mr. Harper traded on grief for gain. Grief. The word landed like a punch. Elias's funeral had been a state affair, bagpipes wailing under drizzling rain at Arlington. But I'd stood alone in the back, Alex's hand in mine the only warmth. That night, in our cramped walk-up in Chelsea, we'd made love slowly, whispering promises against sweat-damp sheets. "We'll build something real," Alex had said, tracing the scar on my collarbone from a childhood biking accident. Real. Was that what this was? Or had I dragged him into my mess? Adjournment came like mercy. I stepped down, legs wooden, Rita guiding me through the scrum of microphones. "No comment," she barked, but one reporter, a kid from the Post, shouted, "Ethan, is it true Grant's widow is testifying against you?" My blood iced. Lydia Grant, Elias's rock, the woman who'd baked me apple pie every Christmas since I was an intern. Against me, the doors swung shut behind us, sealing out the chaos. But inside the holding room, my phone buzzed. A text from Alex, "We need to talk. Coffee shop on 6th. Now." The wind off the Hudson whipped my coattails as I hurried downtown, the city a blur of yellow cabs and holiday lights strung like desperate garlands against the cold. The coffee shop was a hole in the wall called Brewed Awakening. All exposed brick and mismatched mugs. The kind of place where artists nursed lattes and dreamed of Broadway. Alex was in the corner booth, his dark hair tousled, a half-empty espresso in front of him. He looked up as I slid in, his hazel eyes stormy. "Ethan," he started, voice low, "this is bigger than us. If there's even a whiff of truth." "There's not," I cut in, too sharp. The barista shot us a glance. We weren't the first couple arguing in public. Elias didn't pull strings. He wrote letters of recommendation, same as for a dozen others. Hargrove's twisting it because I'm gay and connected. Classic playbook. Alex's jaw tightened. He was straight-laced that way, his journalism ethics a shield and a sword. "Connected? Your dad donated $500,000 to the campaign. And now Lydia? She's my source, Ethan. She called me last night. Said Elias confided doubts about you pushing too hard." Doubts? The word stung worse than the accusation. I leaned forward, our knees brushing under the table. A spark that used to ignite us, now just friction. "Lydia's grieving. She's lashing out. Remember when she hosted that dinner after the diagnosis?" Elias pulled me aside, said, "If I go, promise me you'll run for DA. Not for glory, for the kids like you were." My voice cracked on kids, the memory flooding back. Elias gaunt in his armchair, oxygen tubes snaking from his nose, but his eyes fierce. Alex softened, just a fraction, reaching for my hand. His fingers were cold. "I love you," he murmured. "But I can't bury this story. If it's nepotism, it undermines everything you're fighting for." Love. The word hung between us like smoke from a snuffed candle. I'd proposed to him 3 months ago, down on one knee in Central Park at cherry blossom time, ring from Tiffany's glinting in the sun. He'd said yes with tears, but now? Betrayal simmered beneath his concern. Not mine, but the system's. Or was it? As we walked out into the sleet-slick streets, his arm around my waist felt tentative, like he was already pulling away. That night, alone in our apartment, I dug out Elias's letter, the one he'd sealed with wax from his desk set, dated the week before he died. "Ethan, winning isn't the prize. Integrity is. If they come for you, remember, the connections that matter aren't strings, they're lifelines. Use them to lift, not to climb." I folded it back into my drawer, the paper soft from rereading. Little did I know, the real storm was brewing not in the courtroom, but in the shadows of loyalty I thought unbreakable. The hearing reconvened 2 days later, the holidays be damned. Justice waited for no eggnog. I arrived early, collar starched, tie a noose of navy silk. Rita briefed me in the hallway. "Lydia's on the stand after lunch. Stay calm." Calm? My pulse thrummed like bass from a passing subway. Alex hadn't come home last night, texting a vague late deadline. Lies or half-truths. Our bed felt vast without him, the sheets cold as unanswered calls. The morning dragged with character witnesses, colleagues vouching for my ethics, victims from my pro bono files testifying to lives I'd touched. A trans kid named Jamie, barely 20, spoke haltingly about the restraining order I'd helped her get against an abusive landlord. Mr. Harper didn't care about headlines, she said, voice trembling but eyes locked on mine. He cared about me. The jury leaned in. Hargrove fidgeted. Small victories. Then lunch. I slipped out to a deli on Church Street, grabbing a turkey on rye I couldn't stomach. My phone lit up, unknown number. Ethan? It's Lydia. Her voice, usually warm as fresh bread, was brittle. I didn't want to do this, but the committee pressured me. Elias. He worried you'd burn out like he almost did. Pressure? From whom? Lydia, please. Come testify truthfully. For him. Silence, then a sigh. I'll try, dear. For him. Afternoon brought the hammer. Hargrove called Lydia, elegant in black wool, pearls at her throat like armor. She took the oath with steady hands, but her gaze skittered from mine. Mrs. Grant, Hargrove cooed. Did your husband express reservations about Mr. Harper's rapid rise? She hesitated, glancing at the photo on the board. Elias was proud, she said softly. But yes, he feared the family's influence might taint Ethan's work. Taint. The word slithered out, and the room inhaled sharply. I gripped the table, Rita's hand on my arm a lifeline. But then she pivoted, voice gaining steel. However, Elias chose Ethan because he saw in him what he saw in himself. A fighter for the overlooked. The letters? Mentorship, not manipulation. Hargrove blustered, objecting on relevance, but Judge Rivera overruled. For the first time, sunlight pierced the clouds outside, slanting golden through the blinds. Hope flickered. That evening, Alex waited on our stoop, snow dusting his shoulders like powdered sugar. I heard, he said, pulling me into an embrace that smelled of newsprint and mint gum. Lydia held firm. We climbed the stairs in silence, shedding coats, until the door clicked shut. In the kitchen, under the hum of the fridge, he poured a scotch, Elias's brand, peaty and bold. I dug deeper today, Alex admitted, clinking glasses. Hargrove's funded by your opponent's pack. This is a hit job. Relief washed over me, mingled with something sharper, doubt. Was he digging for me or the story? We talked until midnight, words tumbling like dominoes. My fears of losing the nomination, his deadline pressure from the Times, the way politics chewed up love and spat out resentment. When we finally fell into bed, his body curled against mine. It felt like reclaiming territory. I won't let this break us, I whispered into his hair. He murmured agreement, but sleep evaded me. In the dark, Elias's words echoed. Connections are lifelines. Alex was mine, but how long before they frayed? The holidays crashed in like uninvited guests, all tinsel and tension. Christmas Eve found us at my parents' estate in the Hamptons, a sprawling colonial with a tree tall as a steeple, ornaments from European auctions glinting like distant stars. Dad, Robert Harper, real estate titan with a handshake like granite, clapped me on the back over eggnog spiked heavy. Chin up, son. This witch hunt blows over, you'll be DA by spring. Mom fluttered nearby, her diamonds catching firelight, fussing over the caterers. She meant well, but her support was a velvet glove over steel. Subtle reminders that discretion kept the family name pristine. My coming out at 20 had been a footnote, smoothed with therapy sessions and a trust fund bump. Alex fit awkwardly into their world, charming dad with questions about market trends, enduring mom's veiled probes about his intentions. Such a nice Jewish boy, she'd whispered to me earlier, as if his heritage explained his edge. We stole moments on the veranda, breath fogging in the crisp air, his hand in my back pocket a secret rebellion. Your folks are intense, he said, nuzzling my neck, like landing on Mars. I laughed, pulling him closer, the ocean's roar drowning our whispers. That night, in the guest wing, we made slow work of unwrapping each other. Laughter muffled against pillows, the world outside forgotten. For a few hours it was just us, two men building a fortress against the fray. Boxing Day brought the call that shattered it. Rita's voice crackled through the speaker. Ethan. Leak to the Post. The accusation hit the wires by evening. Harper's House of Cards, forged documents in DA bid, photos splashed online, grainy scans of altered affidavits, timestamps doctored. My office at the public defender's, a bullpen of file cabinets and flickering fluorescence, became ground zero. Staff rallied, combing records till dawn, but doubt seeded like weeds. One paralegal, a burly guy named Marco who joked about my fancy suits, avoided my gaze. Media circus, he muttered, shredding junk mail with unnecessary vigor. Alex Dove in his laptop a war machine. Trace the IP on the leak, he typed furiously at our kitchen table. Surrounded by takeout cartons and cooling coffee, I paced, phone glued to ear, Rita marshalling lawyers like generals. By midnight, we'd pinned the forgeries to Hargrove's intern. A kid with a grudge from a failed internship app. Small fry, but the damage? A poll in the morning news showed my approval tanking 15 points. The public loves a villain, Rita said flatly over conference call. Especially one who looks the part. Villain? Me? The guy who'd spent nights in shelters with queer teens fleeing conversion camps? Elias's voice haunted me. They'll paint you as the pretty boy puppet, Ethan. Don't let it stick. Pretty boy. At 28, with my runner's build and easy smile, I'd leaned into it once. Campaign photos polished to a sheen. Now it felt like a curse. Alex sensed my spiral, drawing me to the couch, his head on my lap. You're the good guy here, he said, fingers interlacing with mine. We'll prove it. His touch grounded me, but as he dozed off, I stared at the ceiling cracks, wondering if proof was enough when hearts were at stake. January thawed the snow but not the chill. Pre-trial motions dragged. Each day a gauntlet of depositions in glass-walled conference rooms overlooking the frozen East River. Lydia became an ally, inviting me to tea in her Upper East Side brownstone, Elias's bookshelves looming like silent judges. He adored you, she confided over Darjeeling, her hands veined blue. Said you reminded him of his younger self. Idealistic, unbreakable. Unbreakable? I nearly choked on my scone. Then why the testimony slip? She sighed, stirring sugar. Fear, Ethan, of losing his legacy to scandal. But you're his legacy. Her words buoyed me through the next blow. Alex's editor pulled him from the story, reassigning to safer beats. Relief? Or cage? He came home late, smelling of dive bars and deadlines, collapsing beside me with a groan. They think I'm biased, he admitted, stripping off his shirt. Ribs sharp under skin from skipped meals. Bias. The word twisted. Because of us? I asked, tracing his spine. He nodded, turning to kiss me fiercely. Worth it, he breathed. That night, passion reignited, bodies mapping familiar terrain. But dawn brought whispers of resentment. I gave up a Pulitzer chase for this, he joked, but his eyes didn't laugh. The real fracture came mid-month. A tip line flooded. Tips about me. Anonymous barbs. Harper's a climber. Bedded his way up. Bedded? The slur hit like shrapnel, dredging up old wounds from college frat parties where slurs flew like confetti. I confronted Alex over breakfast, bagels cooling untouched. You hear these? Or is it just noise? He paused, knife mid-schmear. It's noise, Ethan. But I have to report fairly. Fairly. The adverb dripped acid. So report this. I love you, and this is killing me. He reached across, but I pulled back, the chair scraping loud. Silence stretched taut as a wire. That afternoon, alone in the office, I unearthed Elias's full box of letters. Dozens, tied with twine from his ranch in Montana. One, yellowed, from my first campaign volunteer days. Power corrupts, kid, but love redeems. Don't confuse the two. Love. Was Alex my redemption, or my blind spot? Evening found me at a dive in Hell's Kitchen, nursing a beer among leathermen and lost souls. A drag queen named Ruby, all sequins and sarcasm, slid onto the stool beside me. Trouble in paradise, cutie? I spilled. Accusations, leaks, the man slipping through my fingers. She cackled, red lips curling. Honey, betrayal's the spice. But mentors, they teach you to savor the burn. Her words lingered as I stumbled home, key fumbling in the lock. Alex was packing, a duffel on the bed, clothes haphazard. Space, he said, not meeting my eyes. Till the trial. My place. Space. The word echoed hollow. I grabbed his arm, desperate. This is the betrayal, Alex. Running when it's hard. He yanked free, bag zipping like finality. No, Ethan. Staying when it's compromised. I can't lose myself in your war. The door clicked shut, leaving me in the echo. Betrayed. By the man who'd vowed forever under sakura petals. Grief hit like a rogue wave, pulling me under. I called Lydia at 2 a.m., her voice sleepy but kind. Come over, she said. Her guest room smelled of lavender and old books. We talked till sunrise, her sharing Elias's frailties. His own youthful scandals, a near affair that tested their vows. He chose Grace, she said, handing me tea. Choose it too, Grace. The word settled, a seed in cracked soil. Trial resumed with vengeance. Hargrove grilled my witnesses, but cracks showed. His intern flipped, tearfully admitting planted files. The jury's faces softened, the kind-eyed woman smiling faintly. Victory loomed, but hollow without Alex. Post-session, a note slipped under our door, watching from afar. Proud. A proud? Or guilty? February's chill deepened, Valentine's a cruel joke. I volunteered at a youth center in Harlem, coaching mock trials for at-risk queer kids. Their fire reignited mine. Stories of rejection mirroring my own. One boy, 15 and fierce, gripped my hand after. Don't quit, Mr. Harper. We need heroes. Heroes. Elias's echo. Then the twist. Anonymous email to Rita, CC'd to me. Screenshots. Alex's notes. Timestamps aligning with leak dates. He'd been sourcing against me? No. Deeper. Hargrove's team paying informants. Alex's byline on a balanced piece questioning my ethics. Balanced? It read like sabotage. Heart splintering. I confronted him at his Brooklyn walk-up, pounding till he opened, disheveled in sweats. Explain, I demanded, thrusting the printout. His face drained. Ethan, it was to expose them. Undercover. Lies layered on lies. We argued in the stairwell, voices ricocheting off graffiti walls. You used me, I accused, tears hot. Our bed, our fights, research? He grabbed my shirt, desperate. I love you. This proves it. I'm burning my career to save yours. Save or destroy. His kiss was salt and fury, but I shoved away, fleeing into the night, subway rattling like judgment. Alone again, Elias's box called. A letter from his honeymoon era. Love tests like fire, Ethan. What emerges is gold or ash. Gold or ash. I wept then, curled on the floor, the city indifferent outside. Spring teased with false promises. Crocuses pushing through sidewalk grime, but my world stayed winter barren. The trial barreled toward climax, each session a high-wire act. Hargrove, cornered, lashed wild. Subpoenaing my psych records from post-coming-out therapy, dredging adolescent angst. Emotional instability, he labeled it, voice oily. The courtroom gasped. Judge Rivera shut it down, but the stain lingered. Reporters feasted, headlines screaming Harper's hidden hysteria. Alex's balanced piece ran that week. A gut punch analysis citing sources close on my fragile psyche. Sources. Him? I ghosted him, no calls, block texts. Nights blurred into microwave dinners and case law marathons. Our apartment a mausoleum of his ghost. Forgotten charger by the sink. His cologne faint on the throw pillow. Rita noticed my hollows. Fuel up, Ethan. Jury smells weakness. Weakness. I'd armored it with suits and smiles, but inside? Elias's advice from a '08 memo. Vulnerability isn't a flaw. It's your blade. Wield it wisely. Climax crested mid-March. The courtroom packed tighter than a rush-hour F-train. Hargrove's star witness. A former aide to Elias, one Victor Klein, paunchy and aggrieved, claiming I'd blackmailed endorsements with family threats. Lies all Victor, fired for embezzling campaign funds. Grudge nursed like fine wine. He testified with relish, spittle flecking his mustache. Harper said, "Back me or the IRS gets a tip." The jury shifted. My kind-eyed ally frowned. Rita cross-examined like a surgeon, slicing with receipts. Victor's plea deal, my ignored complaints about his disappearances. But the damage festered. Recess brought pandemonium. Reporters swarming, one shoving a mic in my face. "Ethan, is Klein's story payback for your sexuality?" Sexuality. The word weaponized, reducing love to leverage. I pushed through, emerging into spring rain that soaked my suit. Metaphors be damned. Home, defeatist, I cracked Elias's innermost letter, the one marked for when it all burns. Yellowed pages unfurled. "Kid, betrayal stings because it mirrors our fears. I once lost a bill to a friend's whisper campaign. Thought it broke me. Didn't. Forged me. Forgive not for them, for you. Then rise. Forgive. Alex, the aide, myself for chasing shadows?" That night, a knock. Lydia, umbrella dripping, bearing shepherd's pie and resolve. "Eat," she commanded, plating in our kitchen. Over forkfuls, she shared Elias's unpublished memoir draft, passages on his own scandals. A '70s bribe allegation quashed by allies, teaching him power's illusion, people's the truth. "He wanted you to have this," she said, sliding the folder. Pages thick with his scrawl, underlined. The late mentor's advice? Listen to the heart's quiet voice amid the roar. Inspired, I rallied. Next session, I took the stand. Unscripted, Rita's protests be damned. "Yes," I admitted to Hargrove's barrage, voice carrying like a vow. "My family has connections. Elias had them. But I earned this nomination bleeding for the marginalized. Queer kids profiled by cops. Immigrants denied counsel. I met the jury's eyes, vulnerability my blade. Betrayal? I've tasted it. From false friends, doubting lovers. Gasps. Hargrove objected, sustained. But the seed planted. Alex appeared then, slipping into the back row, face gaunt, notebook absent. His presence a thorn, a talisman. Post-testimony as I fielded Rita's "What the hell?" He cornered me in the hall. "Ethan, wait." Rain-slick hair, eyes pleading. The piece, I twisted it to bait Hargrove. He hired me as a plant. I recorded everything. Proof thrust. Audio files on his phone. Hargrove boasting. Harper's toast. Nepotism sells. My rage cracked. "You risked us for this?" He cupped my face, thumbs rough. "For you. To end it clean." Clean? Scars lingered, but his touch home. We didn't reconcile there, amid echoing marble, but tension eased, a knot loosening. "Prove it in court," I said, pulling away. He nodded, fierce. "I will." The takedown unfolded like dominoes. Alex's recordings, authenticated overnight, gutted Hargrove's case. Judge Rivera declared mistrial on ethics grounds. The room erupting. Jury foreperson, the kind woman, approached post-adjournment. "We believed you, Mr. Harper. Fight on." Victory bittersweet. Outside, paparazzi flashed. Alex shielded me, arm linked defiant. "Partners," he murmured. I squeezed back. "Always." But humanism whispered caution. Elias's letter that night. "Winds are fleeting. What you build endures." Build. With Alex, forgiveness tested over weeks. Awkward dinners, silences bridged by tentative touches. One evening in April bloom, Central Park paths dusted pink. We walked where I'd proposed. "I almost lost you," he confessed, bench creaking under us. "Feared my ambition mirrored yours. Destructive." I took his hand, ring glinting anew. It did, but we choose better. Kiss sealed it, soft under dogwoods, renewal in the air. Nomination cleared, but shadows loomed. Dad's call. "Run independent, son." Parties toxic. Tempting, clean slate, no strings. Lydia hosted a salon, politicos and activists mingling over Cabernet. There, a new face. Jordan Reyes, a community organizer from the Bronx, all fire and faded jeans. "Your stand inspired my kids," he said, handshake lingering. "Sparks? No, admiration, not attraction." Alex noticed jealousy flickering, but we laughed it off later, bodies entwined reaffirming. Yet betrayal's echo persisted. Victor Klein sued for defamation, dredging old wounds. Depositions revealed his ties to my opponent, a slick councilman named Hale with eyes on the DA seat. Hale's campaign ads twisted the trial. Harper, connected, not competent. Polls dipped, donors wavered. Alex's byline shifted to endorsements. His words bomb. Harper's heart. Why he deserves your vote. Summer sweltered in campaign trail a marathon. Rallies in community centers, shaking hands raw, promising reform. Decriminalizing poverty, protections for queer families. Alex trailed, camera in tow, capturing candids that humanized me, hugging a drag mom at Pride, voice hoarse from speeches. One night in a motel off I-95, en route to Philly, exhaustion peaked. We're fraying, he said, sheets tangled. Tours endless. I pulled him close. Then weaved tighter. Lovemaking followed, urgent and tender, reaffirming bonds. But climax brewed darker. August heatwave. A whistleblower from Hale's camp leaked emails. Me, post-trial, venting to Elias's old chief of staff about burying opponents. Out of context, damning. Headline, Harper plots payback. Chaos. Rita in crisis mode. Alex fact-checking furiously. It's spun, he insisted, but doubt gnawed. Who leaked? Footprints led to Jordan. My new ally, ambitious, whispering in ears. Confrontation at a fundraiser in Soho loft, jazz humming low. Jordan cornered, champagne flute trembling. Ethan Hale offered funding for my org. I forwarded one email. For the greater good. Greater good. Betrayal redux, sharper for recency. You used trust, I said, voice steel. He crumbled. I'm sorry. Like Elias taught. Ends justify. No, Elias taught grace. Alex, witnessing, pulled me aside. Fire him from volunteering. Then forgive publicly. Show strength. Strength. We drafted a statement together. Dawn light gilding our words. Betrayal hurts, but it hones. I recommit to transparency. Released at noon, it trended. Supporters rallied. Donations surged. Jordan resigned. Tearful apology emailed. Human frailty laid bare. Fall leaves turned. Election fever peaked. Debates in TV studios. Hale sneering. Me countering with stories. A queer veteran's wrongful conviction I'd overturned. Alex prepped me, flashcards and fire. You're the mentor now, he said, kissing my temple. Indeed, Youth Center kids campaigned, posters waving. Harper, our lifeline. Election night loomed, tension electric. Polls neck and neck, city holding breath. We voted early, booth curtain whispering closure. That eve, Lydia hosted watch party in her brownstone. Balloons bobbing, Elias's portrait presiding. Alex and I stole to the study, nerves jangling. Win or lose, he vowed, forehead to mine. You're my everything, thou echoed Elias. Love redeems. Returns trickled, precincts blue, red, blue. Heart in throat. I gripped Alex's hand as Hale conceded by midnight, voice gracious on screen. Cheers erupted. I hugged Lydia, her tears salt on my cheek. He'd be proud, proud, de-elect Harper. But victory's glow dimmed by reflection. Connections used, yes, but to lift. After party spilled into streets, confetti swirling. Alex and I danced in a dive bar, bodies close, future unfolding. Betrayal scarred but healed, humanity in the mending. Winter returned gentler. Inauguration a January blur of oaths and optimism. Sworn in at City Hall, hand on Elias's Bible, dog-eared from his campaigns. I promised justice equitable, voice steady amid flashbulbs. Alex stood beside, tie matching mine, his presence anchor. Mr. District Attorney, he teased later over victory champagne in our now upgraded Brooklyn brownstone. Fancy title for a softie. Softie. The word warmed, evoking lazy Sundays tangled in flannel. But duty's weight settled quick. First case. A hate crime cluster in Queens, gay bashing spiking post-election. I pushed task force, Raids yielding suspects, tattooed enforcers for a far-right cell. Press lauded. Alex profiled the victims, his words weaving hope, yet cracks spidered. Budget cuts from Hale's allies, whispers of sabotage in memos. Old grudges, Rita warned. Now my chief of staff, her desk piled with threats. One chilled February dawn, it escalated. Anonymous package to my office. Photos, me and Alex, candid from pride, scrawled Ferry Diaz weak spot. Threat veiled, but ice clear. I briefed security, but Alex? He insisted on publishing, column titled Intimidation's Edge. When love becomes a liability. Bravery or recklessness. Visibility saves lives, he argued. Eyes fierce over dinner. Steak seared rare, our staple. Lives, echoed Elias. Use connections to lift. Spring bloomed adversarial. A high-profile exoneration. Marcus, black trans man railroaded a decade prior, freed on my watch. Parade of cheers, but backlash brewed. Cops union protesting, soft on crime. Protests clogged Foley Square. Signs jabbing Harper. Criminals pal. Alex embedded. Footage raw. Officers shoving activists. Tear gas stinging. That night he came home bruised, lips split. They targeted reporters, he gasped. Ice packed a jaw. Rage boiled. I sued the department, headlines flipping narrative. Intimacy strained under stress. Dates skipped for depositions, touches fleeting. One May evening, after a gala fundraiser, tuxes and toasts, he pulled me into a coat room, lips crashing urgent. Missed you, he murmured, hands roaming. We laughed, breathless, rediscovering amid forestolls. But post-glow, vulnerability spilled. Do you regret this life? I asked, tracing his bruise. Never, he lied, then truth. Sometimes. The danger. Love's shadow. Summer-scorched scandals. Leak from internal affairs. Tainted evidence in a drug bust. My office implicated. Investigation loomed. Hargrove's ghost grinning from consulting gigs. Rita dug. Trail led to Victor Klein, now Hale's fixer, planting doubts. Confrontation in a midtown diner. Booths sticky with grease. Victor smirked over fries. Payback's a bitch, Harper. Bitch. Slur-laced. For what? Your crimes. He leaned in. For Elias choosing you over me. Jealousy. Festering. Elias had mentored Victor too, passed over for chief of staff me. Revelation hit like vertigo. Victor's vendetta personal as a lover's scorn. I recorded our meet, legal now, forwarding to feds. Arrest followed swift. Headlines Klein cuffed. DA's triumph. But cost? Trust eroded further. Alex, sourcing the story, questioned my off-record with Victor. You met alone. Paranoia flickered. Journalist gut, he said, but eyes doubted. Fights escalated. Accusations flying like plates in a farce. August heat peaked with crisis. Bombing at a queer youth center, shrapnel and screams. I raced scene, coordinating with feds. Alex live tweeting horror. Casualties mounted, 3 dead, including a teen from my mock trials. Grief collective, vigils lighting bridges. Eulogy at memorial, my voice breaking. They were lifelines, snuffed too soon. We honor by enduring. Alex's hand in mine, public, defiant. Media aided, DA and partner, united in sorrow. Healing began there, ash fertile. We volunteered reconstruction, hammers swinging side by side, sweat mingling. This, Alex said, nailing beams, is why. Why us? Elias's letter from his civil rights days. Tragedy forges alliances unbreakable. Unbreakable. We talked then, raw under hard hats. Fears of obsolescence, ambitions toll. I need you whole, I confessed. Not half in the fray. He nodded, tool pausing. Then let's balance. More us, less war. Fall brought reforms. Bills co-sponsored with Queer Caucus, safe houses funded. Polls soared. National eyes turned, CNN spots, rising star profiles. But humanism tempered. A case dismissal. Corrupt cop walking free on technicality. Backlash howled. I owned it publicly, Presser flanked by Alex. Justice imperfect, but pursuit eternal. Grace wielded. One crisp October weekend, we escaped to Elias's Montana ranch. Lydia's gift, keys in envelope with note. Heel there, Aspen's golden air pine sharp. We hiked trails Elias loved, scattering his ashes remnant at a overlook, wind carrying whispers. Evenings by fire pit, Esmores gooey, stories swapped. Alex's Chicago childhood, my Hamptons isolation. You saved me, he said one night, stars wheeling overhead. Our sleeping bags zipped as one. Saved. Mutual. Return invigorated. But betrayal's final lash struck November. Hail. Mounting comeback bid for mayor. Unearthed evidence. Forged endorsement from Elias. Dated postmortem. Forgery blatant, signature wobbly but timed for maximum sting. Press frenzy. I sued for libel but damage viral. Alex investigated. Uncovering forger. Jordan Reyes, desperate for cash, Hale's pawn. Second betrayal from the same hand. Sting acute but prepared. Press conference, Alex at podium 2. This forgery mocks a great man's memory. We expose it for truth. Footage of Jordan's confession aired. Hale's campaign crumbling. Victory Pyrrhic. Jordan, broken, sought me out in a park bench meet. Rain pattering. I chased power, lost soul. Elias's warning. I forgave quietly, referral to counselors, no charges. Human, flawed, redeemable. December snowed serenity. Holiday lights twinkled. Our tree adorned with Elias's cufflinks as ornaments. Dinner with parents thawed old frosts. Dad toasting. To connections that count. Count. Family finally seeing. New Year's Eve. Times Square throng. But we watched from rooftop bar. Champagne bubbling. To changed everything. Alex toasted. Ring catching light. Our commitment. Renewed sans fanfare. Changed. Mentor's advice. Woven through betrayals. Emerged gold. The new year dawned with quiet revolutions. DA tenure deepened. Initiatives launched. Restorative justice circles for juvenile offenders. Queer competency training mandated for prosecutors. Pushback persisted. Union grumbles. Editorial snipes. But metrics shifted. Recidivism down 12%. Community trust polls climbing. Alex's book deal landed. Shadows of Justice. A love story in the courts. Our saga anonymized but pulse true. Catharsis. He called signings. Crowds nodding. Catharsis. Mine too, pages turned therapeutic. Spring unfurled scandals subdued. Victor's trial, federal racketeering, saw me testify calm. Facts unyielding. Conviction sealed. Sentence 10 years. He nodded from dock. Almost grateful. Closure. Reed-equipped post-verdict. Cigars puffed illicit in chambers. Closure. Betrayals boxed. Lessons unbound. Personal tides turned tender. We adopted a mutt from the shelter. Rusty, all wiry fur and wagging zeal. Our mornings jogs in Prospect Park. Leashes tangled like lives intertwined. Family? Alex marveled. Tossing frisbee. Rusty's leaps joyous. Family. Word once foreign, now foundation. Summer solstice brought pilgrimage. DC trip. Arlington visit to Elias's grave. Stones smoothed by rain, we laid wildflowers. Montana asters vibrant. Thanks, old man, I whispered, Alex's arm steady. For the advice that saved us. Saved. Plural. His hand squeezed. Words unnecessary. Fall elections cycled. Hale trounced in primary, his empire ash. My re-election unopposed. Focus shifting national. Advisory role with DOJ on bias training. Alex tagged along to panels, notebook ever ready. Partners in crime fighting. He joked at a gala. Waltzing cheek to cheek amid chandeliers. Crime fighting. Romantic our way. 1 November Eve. Crisis redux. School shooting in Jersey. Ripples to NYC lockdowns. I coordinated response. Alex reporting from fringes. Calm amid chaos. Midnight call from bunker. Home safe. His voice anchor. Always. For you. Always. Winter wove warmth. Holiday card to Lydia. Photo of us three, me, Alex, Rusty. Under mistletoe, grins wide. Her reply, Elias beams from above. Beams. Celestial connection. Climax crested subtle. Anniversary eve. 2 years wed. Quiet ceremony in Central Park last spring. Vows exchanged under that same bench. Dinner at Brood Awakening, origin spot. Mugs steaming nostalgia. Remember our fight? Alex reminisced, foam on lip. Fight. Catalyst. Changed everything. I echoed. Title of our tale. Dessert uneaten. We wandered village streets. Lights festive. Snow flurried soft. He stopped under awning, breath visible. Ethan Harper, you accused me once of using you. Truth? You used me too. Pulled me from cynicism's edge. Used. Reframed. Lifelines. I countered Elias's wisdom. Kiss followed. Snowflakes melting on lashes. World blurring benevolent. Years blurred forward. DA to state AG bid. One narrow but noble. Alex's book bestseller. TED Talk viral. Love in the Lion's Den rusty grade. Loyal. We fostered teens. Cycles broken. Betrayals? Faded scars. Stories for campfires. 1. Confiding over cocoa. Mentor taught. Connections win battles, but integrity wars. They nodded. Eyes wide, new generation. Lifelines extended. Ending humanistic, no tidy bow. Life's not script, but manuscript ongoing. Elias's final letter. Reread at dawn. Kid. The advice? Live fully, love fiercely. The rest follows. Followed. In Alex's snore beside. Rusty's sigh at foot. City humming hopeful. I did. And in that quiet, everything changed.